Look, I know how this is going to sound. I can already see the comments in my head. You humiliated him. You deserved it. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And my personal favorite, how could you say that to your own husband? But before everyone jumps straight to, you ruined everything over one stupid joke. Just hear me out. I swear I didn't think it would go this far. People joke with their partners all the time, right? People tease. People play around. That's what I told myself anyway. I didn't think he'd actually take it seriously. I didn't think one sentence would be enough to make him look at me like a stranger, walk into our bedroom, pull out my suitcase, and start folding my clothes into it like he was closing out a hotel reservation. But that's exactly what happened. Right now, as I'm telling you this, I'm standing in our hallway with my suitcase fully packed, jeans folded too neatly, toiletries shoved into the side pocket in a mess, a jacket half hanging out because the zipper won't quite close around everything he crammed in. My shoes are already lined up by the front door. Not by me, by him. The pair I wear to work. The sneakers I always leave lying around. The boots he bought me last winter. Because I hate seeing you slip on the ice. All of them, lined up like I'm checking out. He walks past me without looking at my face. Not once. No eye contact, no flinch, no second thoughts visible anywhere. He just picks up the suitcase handle, opens the front door, and rolls it outside onto the porch. The sound of the wheels over the threshold is weirdly loud. He leaves it there, on the mat, under the porch light. If you think other men have more to offer, he says, voice low but steady, go to them. I force a shaky smile, the kind that feels more like a grimace. It wasn't that deep, I say, because that's what I've been saying for days. It was literally a joke. He doesn't answer this time. He just stands there in the doorway for one more second, like he's deciding whether there's anything left to say, then turns and walks back inside. The door doesn't slam. It just closes. Softly. But it feels like a door slamming anyway. I stand there, alone in the hallway, staring at the door, at the suitcase outside, at my jacket sleeves sticking out from under the zipper. I can hear my own heartbeat in my ears. People always say, you know the exact moment your relationship ends. For me, it was that line. If you think other men have more to offer, go to them. All because I thought I was being funny when I called my best friend an XL and my husband an XS. But he didn't laugh, I say now, mostly to myself. At all. I take a breath. So, I say, like I'm starting a story in my friend's kitchen instead of in my half-empty hallway, here's what happened. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I love seeing where everyone's watching from. Okay. Let's rewind. If you'd met me a few months ago, you probably would have liked me. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just being honest. I'm one of those people who knows how to keep a conversation going. I make jokes. I tell stories. I pick up on awkward silences and fill them before they have a chance to suffocate anyone. I'm the friend who turns every dumb thing that happens into a funny anecdote. I'm also that person who crosses the line sometimes and then goes, relax, it's a joke, like that magically erases everything. I'm 28. Or I was 28 when all this started. I turned 29 sitting on my friend's pull-out couch, but that's later. I met my husband Daniel when I was 23. He was 27 then, already one of those guys people describe as solid. Not flashy, not loud, not the center of attention, just reliable. He worked in finance, not the cool Wall Street movie kind. The boring, mid-sized company in a boring business park kind. He wore button-down shirts that were always ironed, even when nobody would see them. He held doors. He listened more than he talked. He was safe. And after the guys I'd dated before him, safe felt like a miracle. There was only one problem, if you can call it that. My best friend, Ethan. We'd known each other since we were 15. Same school, same friend group, Same habit of getting into trouble in different ways. We'd never dated. People assumed we had, or that we would, but we never did. We kissed once at a party when we were drunk. It was weird and we both laughed it off the next day. We stayed friends. Real friends. The kind who could talk about anything. Family mess, mental health, sex. Especially sex. I don't know how to explain it if you've never had that kind of friend, but with Ethan, nothing was off limits. He'd talk about his hookups, his embarrassing moments, his body, my body, other people's bodies, like we were dissecting movies. And yes, at some point, over a decade of oversharing and too much wine, I found out what he was working with physically. I'm not going to go into graphic detail. You can fill in the blanks. But let's just say the rumors were not exaggerated. At 22, that felt like important information. We made jokes about it. His exes made jokes about it. Our friends made jokes about it. It became part of his whole persona. Not in a gross way, more like an unspoken punchline everyone knew was there. So when I started dating Daniel, that was the dynamic he walked into. Me, the loud, jokey one, with a very close male best friend who, for better or worse, had a reputation. Daniel handled it better than I think a lot of men would. He never said, "Stop being friends with him." He never gave me an ultimatum. He came to group hangouts where Ethan was there and shook his hand and laughed at his stories. He listened when I told him old memories and didn't flinch when Ethan's name came up. But I'm not stupid. I saw the way his jaw tightened sometimes when someone would say, "Ethan, you're going to ruin that poor girl," as a joke. I saw the way he went quiet when one of our drunk friends once said, "God, I wish my man had Ethan's confidence," and everyone laughed. Daniel wasn't loud enough to start a fight over it, but he wasn't blind either. I remember one night, early in our relationship, we were lying in bed in the dark. It was one of those heavy summer nights where the air feels thicker than usual. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Did you and Ethan ever—" He trailed off, but I knew what he meant. I could have lied. I didn't. "We kissed once," I said. "Like, years ago. It was weird. We laughed about it. It never went anywhere." "Never," he pressed. "Never," I said. "He's my friend. It would ruin it." He was quiet for a second. "Do you ever wish something had happened?" he asked, the question small, like he was embarrassed to even voice it. I rolled onto my side and looked at him, even though I could barely see his face. "No," I said. "Daniel, if I wanted Ethan, I could have tried to make that happen 100 times. I chose you. That should mean something." He'd nodded, like that answered the question, and for a long time it did. We got married when I was 26. Small wedding, not Pinterest perfect, but nice. Our friend group was there. Ethan was one of his groomsmen, which, looking back, was probably a strange choice, but it had felt natural then. They'd become friends, or at least cordial. Our first couple of years of marriage were good, normal, messy in small ways, but fundamentally strong. We argued about stupid things, dishes, in-laws, how long is too long to scroll on your phone in bed. We made up quickly. We went on little weekend trips. We saved up to repaint the kitchen. We talked about having kids someday. Ethan was always around in the background. Game nights, brunches, random Tuesday dinners. Sometimes just him and me texting memes back and forth. Sometimes all three of us hanging out. Daniel never forbade it. I took that as proof that everything was fine. What I didn't pay attention to were the small flinches. The way he would go quiet if Ethan made some self-deprecating joke about needing to buy custom underwear. The way he would find an excuse to go to the bathroom whenever the conversation veered too heavily into sex jokes. The way his eyes would flick to me, then away, whenever someone teased me about knowing too much about my best friend. I saw those things. I just didn't let myself really look at them, because then I'd have to take them seriously. And I didn't want to. The night I detonated my marriage started out like any other fun night in with friends. It was a Saturday. We'd cleaned the apartment that afternoon, argued playfully over whether the chairs looked better at an angle or straight, ordered too much food. Our living room smelled like takeout, and the scented candle Daniel had bought because he said it made the place feel like a hotel lobby. 6 of us were there. Me, Daniel, Ethan, another couple, Matt and Julia, and our friend Lena, who was perpetually single and perpetually the one with the best stories. There was music playing from someone's playlist, low enough that we could talk over it. We'd demolished most of the food. Empty containers were stacked on the coffee table. Beer bottles and wine glasses crowded around them. I was riding that comfortable social high where your jokes are landing. You feel witty, and everything you say seems to earn at least a chuckle. Ethan was sitting on the one armchair, lounging like he owned the place, long legs stretched out, beer balancing on his stomach. Daniel was next to me on the couch. My feet were in his lap. His hand was resting on my ankle, thumb rubbing absently back and forth. The conversation turned, as it eventually does in mixed groups of people in their late 20s with alcohol in their system, to sex, specifically to bad sex. I swear, Lena said, gesturing with her wine glass, if I meet one more guy who thinks I'm a grower, not a shower, is a personality trait, I'm going to start charging them for wasting my time. Everyone laughed. Julia jumped in with her own story about a guy who'd bragged for weeks, and then had not delivered. It was light, easy, everyone taking turns being a little vulnerable and a little cruel. Daniel chuckled along, but I could feel his thumb stop moving on my ankle. Then someone, I don't remember who, maybe Matt, turned to Ethan. Come on, he said. You don't get to say anything. You're the exception. Ethan put his hands up, half laughing. Don't drag me into this, he said. I'm retired. Retired, Lena snorted. Please, you just ran out of new people to traumatize. The jokes rolled around like a ball, everyone kicking them a little further. It was all familiar territory. These were jokes we'd all made before. And then, because I always think I can make a joke slightly funnier by pushing it 1 inch further, I opened my mouth. Oh, please, I said, leaning back on the couch, letting the words flow out on a little wave of wine. My best friend is an XL and you're an XS. I was looking at Ethan when I said XL, like it was a setup. I turned my head toward Daniel on XS, grinning, expecting everyone to laugh. There was a split second of stunned silence, the kind you could almost miss if you weren't paying attention. Then a weird, nervous chuckle from Julia, the kind people do when they're not sure if they're supposed to laugh or not. Lena's smile flickered and died. Matt grabbed his beer and took a long swig, as if that could erase the moment. Ethan actually laughed, short, awkward, not quite committed. Damn, he said, don't hold back or anything. My husband didn't say anything. I felt his hand on my ankle go completely still. I glanced at him, still half smiling, waiting for him to roll his eyes or shove my leg playfully and say something like, Wow, thanks, babe. Instead, his face was completely blank. Not angry, not amused, just wiped clean. His eyes met mine for 1 second. It wasn't even a full second, just enough for me to see something there that made my stomach drop. Then he blinked and looked away. The conversation staggered back to life, limping at first. Lena tried to salvage it. Okay, I'm topping up my drink because that was brutal, she said, getting up. Who wants more wine? Everyone latched on to the distraction. People stood, stretched, made little side comments. The music felt suddenly too loud and then not loud enough. I laughed. Too loudly. You guys are so sensitive, I said, waving my hand. Relax, it was a joke. Oh my God, I'm obviously kidding. Ethan shot me a look I couldn't quite read and then purposefully changed the subject. Daniel didn't say a word. He didn't squeeze my ankle. He didn't shift away. He just sat there, staring at the TV screen, which was off, like it was playing something only he could see. My heart was pounding. but my mouth kept autopiloting. "You know I'm joking," I said, leaning toward him a little, nudging his arm. "Come on, don't be dramatic. It's not that deep." He blinked once. "Go grab yourself some more wine," he said quietly. "You're empty." It sounded like he was passing a stranger the salt. The rest of the evening went on in that strange, fractured way. People stayed for another hour, maybe 2. We played a stupid card game. We laughed at other things. I kept waiting for Daniel to crack, to make some sarcastic comment, to bring it up, to do anything that would let me gauge how bad it was. He stayed. Polite. He cleared plates. He refilled people's drinks. He asked Matt about his new job. He offered Lena a ride home because it's on our way. He did all the right host things. When the last person left and the door closed behind them, the apartment felt like a stage after a play. The props still there, the lights still warm, but the life gone. I busied myself in the kitchen, stacking containers, rinsing plates. "So," I called out, trying to sound breezy, "are you going to give me the 'you went too far' lecture, or are we going to pretend it was fine?" Silence. Then his voice came from the living room, quiet. "Do you think it was fine?" he asked. I froze with my hands in the sink. I dried them slowly and walked out to where he was. He was sitting on the couch, leaning forward, elbows on his knees, looking at the coffee table like it had done something to him. "It was a joke," I said. "You know that." He didn't look up. "You called your husband an XS," he said, enunciating each letter, "in front of your friends, in front of your XL best friend." The way he said XL made my skin crawl. "I didn't mean it literally," I said, my voice going defensive automatically. "Obviously, I was just trying to be funny," he finished for me. "Yeah, you succeeded. I'm sure everyone will be quoting that one for a while." "Okay, now you're being dramatic," I said. "Nobody's going to remember it tomorrow. You're acting like I announced your measurements on a billboard." He finally looked at me then. "I don't care if they remember," he said. "I will." I rolled my eyes, because that's what I do when I'm scared. "Daniel," I said, "you know how people talk. You know how many times I've made jokes about myself. I call myself flat-chested all the time. I call myself fun-sized. Nobody cares." "That's the problem," he replied. "You don't care. About this, about me, about the fact that you're joking with the one thing I'm insecure about." I opened my mouth with the usual line. "You're insecure, that's not my fault." But something about his face made it die in my throat. Instead, I pulled out a weaker version. "Everybody has insecurities," I said. "If we can't joke about them, we'll never talk about anything." He sank back against the couch, tired all of a sudden. "I'm going to bed," he said. "We can talk tomorrow." He didn't kiss me goodnight. The next morning, he still got up first, like he always did. Made coffee, packed his work things. The usual routine, but everything felt mechanical. He handed me my mug without the little smile. He brushed past me in the kitchen without the hand on my waist. He said, "Have a good day," at the door, but it sounded like something he'd say to a neighbor, not his wife. I told myself he'd cool off by the time he came home. He didn't. Day after day it was like that. Nothing exploded. He didn't shout. He didn't bring it up in a big fight. He didn't lash out. He just withdrew. Like someone had flipped a switch from warm to neutral. He still showed up to work, still washed dishes, still made sure my car had gas, still sent me a text if he was running late. He just stopped doing anything he didn't strictly have to do. No more random memes. No more saw this and thought of you. No more little jokes in the evening. No more absent-minded touches as he crossed the room. I went from partner to someone he shared space with. At first, I told myself I was imagining it, that I was overthinking, that my guilt was magnifying every little change. So I did what I always do when I'm unsure. I asked my friends. We were at brunch a few days later, the same group minus the guys. Big windows, overpriced coffee, that fake rustic decor everyone loves now. I brought it up halfway through. after a mimosa or two had loosened my tongue. Okay, question, I said. If your boyfriend or husband got mad over a joke, like an obviously dumb joke, would you be on his side or mine? That depends, Lena said immediately. What's the joke? I picked at my avocado toast. I might have said something stupid Saturday, I admitted, about Daniel, in front of everyone. What did you say? Julia asked, frowning, already sensing it wasn't great. I sighed. We were talking about, guys lying about their size, I said. And someone made a comment about Ethan, because of course they did, and I jokingly said my best friend is an XL and Daniel's an XS. Their reactions were instant and brutally honest. Lena's eyes widened. You did not, she said. It came out weird, I said quickly. I meant it as like a contrast thing, like, oh, this is the stereotype and this is the reality, ha. You called your husband XS, Julia repeated, placing her fork down. In front of your XL best friend, in front of everyone. I took a sip of my drink to avoid answering. I mean, Lena said slowly, objectively, that's rough. It was a joke, I protested. Do you know how many times I've called myself flat or joked that my boobs are A for almost there? Nobody cries about that. It's different, Julia said. It shouldn't be, but it is. Also, did you have to say it out loud, in front of him, in front of Ethan? I felt irritation rising. So you're on his side, I said. You think he's right for sulking like a teenager and acting like I committed emotional murder? I think, Lena said carefully, that if my partner did that to me in front of people, like pointed out a physical insecurity and compared me to someone else, I would be extremely hurt. And if I told them that and they kept saying it's just a joke, I'd probably shut down too. I hated how rational that sounded. It's not like he doesn't have anything to work with, I snapped, more harshly than I meant. I didn't announce that he's completely lacking. I just... Clara, Julia interrupted, it doesn't matter what he's working with. You told a room full of people that another man has more. That's the message. You can't spin that. I pushed my plate away. Okay, great, so everyone's on Team Daniel, I said. I get it. I'm the villain. Cool. No one said that, Lena replied. We're just saying, you poked a very sensitive place, with a crowd, and then acted like he's crazy for bleeding. I left that brunch feeling cornered, so instead of going home and apologizing properly, I doubled down internally. He's being sensitive. He knows how I joke. If he can't handle banter, that's not my fault. Everyone teases their partners. It's not my job to babysit his ego. Those were the sentences I repeated to myself like a mantra. Meanwhile, at home, Daniel's silence grew heavier. I tried a different tactic. If he wasn't going to snap out of it on his own, maybe I could coax him out. That week, I cooked his favorite meals. I lit candles. I put on the outfit he'd once said made him forget what he was talking about. I deliberately bumped into him in the hallway, fingers lingering a little longer than necessary. He responded with politeness. He said, "Thanks, this is good." About the food, he said, "You look nice." About the outfit. He stepped back slightly when I, accidentally, brushed against him, not in a dramatic way. Just enough that we didn't linger in each other's space. When I climbed into bed one night and pressed myself against his back, wrapping an arm around his waist, he didn't push me away. But he also didn't reach back for me. He just lay there, breathing, like he was waiting for me to fall asleep so he could be alone again. After a few minutes, I rolled away, staring at the ceiling. "This is insane," I said the next evening, standing in the kitchen while he dried dishes. "You can't seriously still be mad." He put the plate down carefully. "I'm not mad," he said. "I'm done." The word scared me more than anger ever could have. "Done with what?" I asked, forcing a laugh. "Talking. Me. Jokes." "Done pretending it didn't matter," he said. "Done pretending it was funny. Done pretending I'm okay being the punchline in my own marriage." "It's not like I go around telling strangers," I shot back. "It was one night, one comment." One comment you thought was okay because everyone already knows the joke, he said quietly. Everyone already knows where you think I rank in comparison to your friend. That's not fair, I said. I've never actually compared. You literally compared, he said, out loud, with letters. I swallowed. You're blowing it up, I muttered. You know I didn't mean it literally. You know I'm with you. You know I chose you. He looked at me for a long moment. I used to know that, he said finally. Then he walked out of the kitchen. He could have yelled. He could have thrown a glass. He could have said something cruel about my body in return. He did none of that. He just walked away. That scared me more than any screaming match ever has. The actual breaking point, the moment he decided to move from withdrawn to done, came on a Thursday night, about 10 days after the joke. We were sitting on the couch, half watching some trashy reality dating show. One of those shows where hot people in swimsuits argue about who deserves love. There was a confessional segment where one girl said something like, "He just doesn't satisfy me. My ex set the bar too high." The other cast members made exaggerated faces. The Twitter feed at the bottom of the screen went wild. I made a noise, that half-laugh, half-snort sound. "Can you imagine saying that on TV?" I said. Like, "Sorry, babe, my ex was XXL and you're—" I stopped myself before I said it, but the shape of the letters was already in the air. Daniel reached for the remote. He turned the TV off. The room went quiet. He stood up, every movement controlled. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To bed," he said. "I have an early meeting." It wasn't even that late. "You're acting like I actually said something," I protested. "I didn't. I stopped myself. I'm trying." He paused, hand on the doorway. "That's the problem," he said. "You have to try not to humiliate me." He didn't slam the bedroom door. He just closed it. The next day, he left for work before I woke up. That evening, I came home to the sound of drawers opening and closing. I dropped my bag by the door and walked into the bedroom. My suitcase was on the bed. Open. Half filled. He was standing by the closet, folding one of my sweaters. His movements were slow, precise, almost gentle. There was no rage in them. That made my throat tighten more than if he'd been throwing things. "What are you doing?" I asked, even though it was obvious. "Packing your things," he said. The air left my lungs. "For what?" I asked, my voice going shrill. "Where am I going?" "Wherever you want," he said. "Your sisters, a friend's, your parents, anywhere that isn't here." I laughed once, a high, panicked sound. "You're not serious," I said. "You're kicking me out, over a joke." He folded another shirt and placed it in the suitcase. "This isn't about a joke," he said. "It's about what the joke told me." "And what did it tell you?" I demanded. "That I'm horrible? That I don't love you? That I'm secretly thinking about Ethan every time we're—" "It told me," he said, raising his voice a notch for the first time, "that when you're comfortable and happy and trying to be funny, the story you tell about me is that I'm small. Less. That other men have more to offer. That I'm an XS next to an XL." The letters hung in the air between us. "I've never made fun of you like that," he went on. "Not once. Not about your body, not about your family, not about anything I know you're insecure about. I've never held private information about you up for public entertainment." "You talk about my anxiety all the time," I argued. "You tell people I overthink everything. That hurts me." "It's not the same, and you know it," he said. "You joke about your anxiety too. You reclaim it. You make content out of it. You never reclaimed that for me. You just exposed it." Tears sprang to my eyes. "I can change," I said. "I can stop. I can fix this. Just don't do this. Don't throw our marriage away over one bad moment." He zipped part of the suitcase closed. "This isn't one moment," he said. "This is every small flinch I've had when your friends make jokes about your XL best friend. Every time I've heard you tell a story that made me the side character. Saturday was just the first time you said it out loud in front of me, in a way I couldn't unhear. He took a breath. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life competing with the idea of other men, he said. With your friend, with whoever else you think has more. You're not competing, I said. There is no competition. I married you. And I'm incredibly grateful you did. For a while at least, he replied. But I'm not going to be your punchline. He started taking clothes from the top drawer, pajamas, t-shirts I slept in, old comfy pants. I rushed to the bed, grabbed the suitcase zip. I'm not leaving, I said. You can't just decide that. This is our home. He looked at me then, really looked, and that calm I'd seen in the hallway earlier settled over his face. I talked to a lawyer, he said. I know my options. I know I can't physically throw you out in some dramatic way without consequences. That's not what this is. I'm asking you to go. I'm asking you not to make this uglier than it has to be. You already made it ugly, I shot back. You're making me homeless over a sentence. He exhaled slowly. Clara, he said, if this were only about me, maybe I'd keep trying. Maybe I'd swallow it, like I've swallowed so many small cuts over the years. But this is about who you are when you're comfortable, about how you treat me when you think everyone's on your side. I heard the real you Saturday night, and I can't unhear her. He closed the suitcase fully and pulled it off the bed. I followed him down the hallway, still bargaining. You're overreacting, I said. You're insecure. That's not my fault. You'll regret this. He stopped at the door, opened it, and rolled the suitcase out. The porch light flicked on automatically. For what it's worth, he said, I don't care what size you think I am. I really don't. I care that you thought it was funny to tell people, that you cared more about getting a laugh than protecting me. He let go of the suitcase handle. Then he looked at me one last time, eyes tired but clear. I'm not competing with your friend, he said, or anyone else. If he's XL and I'm XS, go to him. The words landed like a final verdict. I didn't mean it, I whispered. It wasn't real. But you said it, he replied, and I believed you. He stepped back inside. The door closed. That's how I ended up standing in the hallway, staring at my packed bags on the porch, still hearing the echo of something I thought was just a joke. The aftermath was messy. I went to my sister's place first, showed up at her door with the suitcase and a story halfway between confession and self-defense. He kicked me out, I said, eyes red, because I made a joke about him, in front of people. She pulled me in, sat me down, made me tea. What did you say? She asked. I hesitated. I said he was small, I admitted, compared to Ethan. I called Ethan XL and him XS. Everyone laughed. He's taking it way too literally. Her face went through about 3 expressions before settling on something that looked like disappointment. Clara, she said, why would you do that? It was a joke, I insisted. Would you like it if he told a room full of people that your boobs are a size sad compared to some other women's? She asked. That's not the same, I protested. Women are used to that. That's exactly the problem, she said. We're used to it and it still hurts. Why would you do that to someone you're supposed to be safest with? I didn't have a good answer. Over the next few days, I told versions of the story to different people. Some got the censored version. We had a bad fight after a joke landed wrong, and he asked me to leave. Others, the ones I trusted more, got the real line. Every time I said it out loud, I called my best friend XL and my husband XS. It sounded uglier. Most people reacted the same way my friends at brunch had. I mean, yeah, I'd be upset too. What did you expect? He has a right to feel humiliated. A few people tried to comfort me by saying, if he really loved you, he'd know it was just a joke. But even they had this tightness around their eyes, like they didn't fully believe their own words. And Daniel, he didn't text to check on me. He didn't beg me to come back. He didn't send long, tortured paragraphs about how torn he was. He sent one message 2 days later. I've left some of your mail in a box by the door. Let me know when you want to come by and get it. I won't be here. Businesslike. That was it. I tried to cling to the idea that he was being immature. Childish. Overly proud. Then I saw him. Not in person at first, online. He wasn't a big poster before. He'd go months without putting anything on social media. A random birthday photo here. A vacation shot there. Suddenly, he was posting more. Nothing dramatic, no thirst traps, no pointed quotes. Just pictures. At the gym, spotting a friend on the bench. Out hiking, sweat on his forehead, sun on his face. Grabbing coffee, wearing a shirt I'd never seen before that fit him better than the ones in his old, safe wardrobe. The first time, I scrolled past, my breath catching. He looked good. Lean. Stronger. Sharper somehow. Like someone had wiped a layer of dust off him. People commented, "Damn, Daniel, look at you. You've been working out. You look great, man. You look confident. You look lighter." Lighter. That word stung more than any comment about his body ever could have. I watched from my sister's couch as he built a new version of himself that didn't include me. Not with petty posts, not with revenge dating, just with quiet, deliberate choices to invest in his own life. I realized something then that I'd been refusing to see. I didn't just bruise his ego, I shattered his trust. The thing about jokes is that they come from somewhere. Even if they're exaggerated, even if they're playful, they're built on something real. Something you think, somewhere deep down. When you love someone, truly, you guard those places. You don't weaponize them for punchlines. I treated our private life like content. I treated his insecurity like a meme. I treated his trust like a stage. I still catch myself, even now, wanting to say, I didn't mean it. But every time I do, I hear his voice in my head. But you said it. And that's the part I can't undo. I sit on the edge of whatever spare bed I'm borrowing that week, my sister's, my friend's, a temporary sublet. And I picture that night, the bottles on the coffee table, the music, the laughter, the way I leaned back on our couch and thought I was being hilarious when I said, "Oh, please, my best friend is an XL and you're an XS." I see his face freeze. I see the way his hand stopped moving on my ankle. I see the way everyone else's laughter died and I was the last one still chuckling, trying to drag the moment back into comfortable. I remember the look in his eyes when he finally said, "I will remember." And I realized now that what I thought was just another edgy joke was, to him, a moment of clarity. Not about his body, about me. I didn't mean it, but I said it, out loud, in public, without caring where it landed, and he didn't laugh. Not then, not later, not at all. So yeah, I'm the woman who joked that her best friend was XL, and her husband was XS and then watched him pack her bags. You can say he overreacted. You can say he should have forgiven me. You can say a stronger man wouldn't have let it get to him. But you can't say he was wrong to believe me when I showed him, in one careless sentence, exactly how low I ranked his dignity compared to my need to be funny. I didn't mean to lose him. I didn't mean to lose my home. I didn't mean to be sitting here talking to you from someone else's couch instead of my own living room. But meaning doesn't change what happened. Words don't vanish just because you call them jokes. They sit there in the people you aim them at, echoing long after the laughter dies. He told me to go to the men I think have more to offer. I don't want them. I want the man who quietly turned off the TV because he couldn't stand one more joke about not being enough. The man who loved me enough to finally love himself more than my punchlines. And the worst part is, I had him. Until I opened my mouth.